There's a lot of new technology in this. There's a stainless steel. It's our first 48 volts. It's industry first 48 volt low voltage system. There's an 800 volt high voltage system, steer by wire, steer by brake, and all of these things add to the amount of risk in ramping. So, in an ideal case, it maybe it'll take us 12, 15 months to get to that rate, so end of next year. But it's only going to move as slow as whichever one of those things has the first problem. And then, at Tesla, I think we've gotten a lot better over the years at ramping. Model 3 was pain. No one ever asked us about Model Y ramp just because we just did it. We just revamped the new Model 3, and that was a couple weeks to ramp. So I think we're a little better, and we've learned from our production hell days. And we really worked hard to make the door open 92. Right? Because you can have this big space, but if the door only opens to here, you can't use it.
Yeah, you can't put your thing in.
And then, it's not quite 6 feet, but it is also pretty decent for sleeping.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah, I've been out on a few test trips where, you'll find an engineer or two in the back of a truck just laying down.
The Tesla Cybertruck camper van.
Everyone, I hope you're doing well. So it's been years since I started making this channel with the hopes that maybe a year or two ago I would have already been able to start with this dream, but it hasn't happened yet. Things take time. The Cybertruck has just launched, and with my place in the reservation list, it's probably honestly going to be a year or two until they ramp up production. I'm probably estimated around the 800th, 8 to 900,000th person, somewhere in that list, to get my order. So if we're talking about a year, so end of 2024 until we ramp up to 250,000, probably end of 2025, realistically early 2026, before I would be able to actually get delivery. So in this video, I've taken a bunch of clips from two of my favorite Cybertruck review videos. These are people who got initial looks at the truck, and from what I can tell, it might be possible to sleep in the back. Unfortunately, the window on the current version, my whole plan for building a camper was that the window between the interior and the truck bed would come out or roll down, so that air conditioning and heating from the cabin would be able to go to the truck bed so you could build your camper. But it looks like I might actually be able to fit in the back of the truck. I'm 69 inches tall, and so there is a Cybertruck at my local Tesla dealer. Once they allow people to view the insides, I'm going to go see if I can actually lay down the back. And if you move the seats forward, could you actually get a decent single person bed on the floor? Because that would be an amazing way to do overlanding trips. I'll have another video up when I do that. In the meantime, I just put together a bunch of clips which really give the best engineering look at this truck. I think it's going to be a really great vehicle to do long distance overlanding trips in, so super excited for that. Again, it doesn't look like this channel is really going to go anywhere for a few more years, so we'll see what eventually happens when I do get the vehicle. But yeah, I just wanted to do a quick update. It's finally released, super exciting. Here's the rest of the video. The full links to the reviews are in the description if you want to watch those. Thanks for watching, guys.
0 to 60 in 2.6 seconds. 2.6! On mud tires, on untreated asphalt. More impressively, it pulled off 2.6 second runs to 60, even when the battery was below half. No special mode or preheating necessary. And the quarter-mile performance barely changed. The slowest run of the day was just 0.3 off, with the battery state of charge in the 30s. That kind of consistency is something new to EVs. This truck weighs 2,599 pounds less than the Hummer EV, which means you'd have to put an original Tesla Roadster in the bed to make this weigh as much as that. And you'd still be carrying around less battery than that does. That Hummer is a poster child for engineering inefficiency. Efficiency sounds like a boring word. But in all cars, efficiency in engineering pays dividends everywhere. More speed, better handling, lower operating costs, and a lower purchase price. Where electric vehicles are concerned, efficiency is everything, because it means all of those things plus range. Sloppy engineering results in an even bigger battery pack, which then snowballs into bigger and heavier wheels, brakes, and tires, and everything else. There is no limit to the bloat. But the Hummer must be close to it, with the world's largest battery pack. It's nearly twice the size of the Cybertrucks. Which doesn't need a huge battery pack because of Tesla's obsession with efficiency. According to the EPA, the Cybertruck is nearly twice as efficient as that Hummer EV. And when you're cruising on the highway, the single most important factor in efficiency is aerodynamics. That shape that we all saw on the stage 4 years ago, i.e. an overgrown refrigerator, is anything but slippery. There's a focus on efficiency and cost savings in the battery pack too. The truck uses 1,366 of these second-generation 4680 cells that Tesla designed, developed, and then produced in-house. These are significantly larger than the original off-the-shelf batteries that Tesla used for the original Roadster, but also the S and the X, or even the 2170 cells that Tesla designed together with Panasonic for the Model 3 and Model Y. The 4680s are not only able to store more energy and release more power without overheating, remember that consistent quarter-mile performance, but they cost far less to produce. And key point here, Tesla makes them itself. Which means you can add the battery pack to Tesla's fully vertically integrated product, i.e. Tesla wants to own everything from the battery to the motor to the software to the hardware to the equipment to the dealers to the service centers to the superchargers and everything else in the supply chain. There is something no one has ever done before. Tesla quadrupled the low voltage side of this car, meaning anything that would have otherwise run on 12 volts now runs on 48 volts. This cuts the current needs in 4, meaning this car needs only a quarter as much copper, saving Tesla money that it can then pass on to you. The last time the industry bumped up cars' voltage was from 6 to 12 volts, also because of growing current needs. This happened 70 years ago, and the industry's been stuck there since. But think about how small the electrical demands were on a 1950s car versus one today. The industry has been trying to switch to a 48-volt architecture for literal decades, and we've seen a 48-volt component here or there. But thanks to incredible dysfunction, neither the suppliers nor the car companies could get the switch done. Tesla finally had enough, and so it sent a pamphlet to the CEO of every other car company entitled, "How to Design a 48-Volt Vehicle." The balls. The primary beneficiary of the 48-volt system is steer-by-wire. For the very first time ever on a production car, there is no physical connection between the steering wheel and the front wheels. All I have to do is turn the car on, and now I can steer. The front wheels are turned using a pair of redundant electric motors mounted directly to the steering rack. The rears are turned with a third motor, and together the 3 motors can output 5 horsepower. Running 5 horsepower on 12 volts would send 3 times the current across the wires as your average 1970s house could handle. House. The Cybertruck might be the size of a house, but it has a turning radius roughly the size of a Model S. The only thing this wheel is connected to is a bunch of sensors and a force feedback unit. I'm not sure I'd want this in a sports car, but in something the size of a school bus, why not? Completely by-wire steering is another thing that engineers have been dreaming about for decades. Lexus is working on it right now, but no one's had the balls to put it into production until now. The benefits are clear. At higher speeds, the steering slows way down and is normal. At lower speeds, well, it's just one turn, lock to lock. Half turn this way, half turn that way. It's wild. The computer interprets your request on where you want to go, and then it decides how much steering front and rear to get you there. Every car on sale right now is throttle by wire, and the entire industry has been trending towards brake by wire for years. Ever heard of a failure? Me neither. What's crazy is that Tesla chose the Cybertruck to debut the 48 volt and steer-by-wire. They didn't need to do anything because a literal million people plunked down deposits on this thing based solely on how it looked. Tesla didn't actually need to make any other breakthroughs. The brushed stainless steel body alone was enough to grab the world's attention.
The brief for Cybertruck wasn't really a brief per se. It was a conversation that had started several years back about eventually Tesla needs to do a pickup truck. We started looking at kind of unpacking the pickup trucks in the market, right?
They all look the same.
Yeah, without the badging, they're all really similar. And we were realizing that from a kind of first principles perspective, not following what had already been done, but looking at what's the best way to create the strongest, most robust truck. We started going down a couple of venues that were unique, but not really dramatic enough. And working with Elon on this, kind of going in circles for a long time. Somewhat secretly started doing something just radically different than really simplistic, kind of a low resolution looking type truck. And in the early days of kind of finding this form and this idea, we had Lotus Esprit in the studio, and we've been looking at that. It was the submarine car. And then started looking at what else is in this planar theme, this really, in a way, simplistic, angular theme. And, the stealth F-117, started looking at like the Countach. And as this kind of radical form started evolving, one day made a full-size model and had Elon walk into it and seeing it for the first time, the one down at the end of the studio. And he's like, that's what we're doing. And from there, the whole language came out, and from there we started.
That's when I had sheer terror, right? I was like, "Oh God!" When you look at that shape, and knowing the stainless steel had to be full hard from that was my brief, and then the additional bit that Elon threw in that it had to drive like a sports car but have all the utility of a pickup truck. We were just sweating bullets because Elon wanted the first prototype in 90 days. And I think he did that to drive decisions, right? Like when you have 90 days to build a prototype, there's no time to argue. You just got to pick the best thing and go. And that alpha that's down there, it took us, I think, 93 days. I think he said 180 first, and then we kept talking, and then it went to 90, and we were just like, okay, so we're done talking. Why did we pick stainless steel? I mean, it started, we had aluminum concepts, we had steel concepts, but Elon had been working with stainless on the Starship program. And obviously we share a materials leader between SpaceX and Tesla, and so I think he sort of fell in love with the fact that it is stronger and more durable and more dent resistant or scratch resistant. And the actual stainless steel that we use, we actually call it we call it HFS, hard freaking stainless. But it's a special grade because when you get into the details of it, it's not as simple as just saying, okay, I'm gonna get this super hard stainless, because stainless is not stain proof. It does corrode over time, and so we had to add various elements to the mix to make it, corrosion resistant and also get that full hardness, and then also have just enough ductility that when we bend it, we didn't get like orange peel cracking. Turns out it's really hard to bend full hard stainless steel, so we actually had to invent how to bend it. It's actually a process called air bending. Actually float the tool on like an air hockey table, kind of where we blow really high pressure air, and that tool like floats over the surface. So it's not actually touching the surface when it's bending it. And like I said that, and it sounds really simple, but then to make that into a tool for manufacturing, it was a challenge.
But when we put the structure on the outside, we can eliminate structure on the inside.
That's true.
So by making it aluminum, we still would have required this inner structure that holds it all together. And so Lars was able to figure out how to eliminate all that and keep the overall mass down, because we're taking away unnecessary structure from the inside of the vehicle.
The trick in engineering was, how do you take the strength that's there and incorporate it into the needs you have for the vehicle? This sail panel, which goes from the C-pillar back out to the rear, it adds like 25% of the torsional stiffness of the vehicle. The torsional stiffness of a Cybertruck is like 45 kilonewton meters per degree. That's supercar level. You drive a F-150, it's like 10 or 15. It's all wobbly, but then when you drive it, that stiffness that we got from the exterior structure makes the truck feel like a car.
Like Lars says, there's no stamping like a traditional aluminum or a steel panel. So the stainless steel can bend in one direction. So we had to create, the plan view shape to get the, perfect proportion and perfect balance and not have the corners out by faceting the truck. So if you stand in front or rear, you can look down the body side, but you see there's 4 facets, the 4 panels that make up the curve, and the windshield is flat, the glass is flat. And you know, when you have all these facets and angles like a diamond coming together, you get to some like challenging, awkward moments that we had to figure out how to solve. I think another point is the stainless, there's no hemming. So we're not wrapping the outer around the inner like in a traditional panel. All the edges are exposed. And so there's no wiggle room there. So we had to figure out how to, first of all, you know, adhere the inner panels to the outer, and then also coin the edges so they weren't sharp or like abrasive or cut you or anything like that. And, you know, lining up all those non-hemmed edges is, you know, it's a challenge.
So that all added to like the complexity, but they were just like new challenges. And then the cool thing about repairing it is because it is just a scratch finish, depending on how deep you go or whatever, you just get some Scotch-Brite
buff it out.
like buff it out.
Yeah, you know, all the other pickup trucks that we were looking at, the toughness is built like in the frame and the chassis, but the most exposed part, the paint, is the most delicate. You know, it's the part that scratches first and dents most easily, and you have to repair all the time, especially if you're using it as a work truck or overlanding or whatever. So, you know, the idea of putting the toughness on the outside and making it actually extremely tough, like bulletproof tough.
We can stop pretty much any handgun and, you know, anything that is subsonic, but you know, if you get armor-piercing rounds or you have a bullet that's going faster than the speed of sound, that energy is going to hit it, you know, with velocity squared in that tiny area it's going to go through. So yeah, you can definitely empty a whole clip from a Tommy gun, 9mm subsonic, but I wouldn't go around, you know, claiming that it's fully bullet-proof.
And you know, I think, you know, going back to a little bit the brief as well, you know, once Elon saw what we were doing, he's like, that's the future. The future should look like the future, not like harking on the past, right? So
there's a lot of new technology in this. There's a stainless steel. It's our first 48 volts. It's industry first 48 volt low voltage system. There's an 800 volt high voltage system, steer by wire, steer by brake, and all of these things add to the amount of risk in ramping. So, you know, in an ideal case, you know, it maybe it'll take us, you know, 12, 15 months to get to that rate, so end of next year. But it's only going to move as slow as whichever one of those things has the first problem. And then, you know, at Tesla, I think we've gotten a lot better over the years at ramping. Model 3 was pain. No one ever asked us about Model Y ramp just because we just did it. We just revamped the new Model 3, and that was a couple weeks to ramp. So I think we're a little better, and we've learned from our production hell days.
Does it need to be fun to drive? Well, this is the area I was prepared for this thing to fall down. They'd put all the engineering effort into the stainless steel exoskeleton, into making it manufacturable, and then maybe they'd forget about the chassis dynamics. But honestly, this is where I've been proved wrong. This is where the big surprise has come today on this road, where actually it's not just rudely fast to drive around on a windy B road like this, but it's actually good fun, and that's all down to body control, the acceleration, and just the way that it reacts to your inputs. It doesn't feel like a truck. It feels like a car. I'm just going to do a lap of the truck and just give us as much detail as you can about everything, starting with the fact that I've spotted a curve. How did that one get through?
One curve.
This sort of curved front bumper bit.
Well, the challenge was we had to make this truck aero efficient as well. And efficiency is, you know, part of what we do at Tesla. All of our vehicles are the most efficient of their class, and Cybertruck needed to be the same way. More range is just better. And so,
most aerodynamic truck on sale?
That's right.
That's
most aerodynamic truck on sale of its size.
Most competitors, when they'll measure it, they'll just measure it in a straight line. But here at Tesla, we like to do that number with the rotating wheels because it does actually affect you when you're driving. No one drives without the wheels spinning.
Yeah.
And so we do a lot of work in the front corner and around the wheels and with Franz's team to make that you know, super awesome.
Yeah, so this area here, which most of us will just sort of walk past in the street and not appreciate that the radius of this bumper and this sort of gap here is probably precision design.
It is actually, because we have the embedded team, we're working on these corners on a daily basis. And I think we were able to really successfully sneak in a few of these curves and help the airflow and you know, created these gaps here that help the airflow up and over the tire, the curve that bends the air right around the tire.
And when we can't get a curve in design, we make them in aerodynamics.
Right.
So this actual shape of the front wheel arch here actually creates a positive pressure zone that pushes the air out. So it's effectively like there's a curve over this whole front end, and it just kind of gleans over the edge.
Yeah, and the
tonneau.
tonneau, that makes a huge aerodynamic difference.
Yeah, it's about 10%, right?
10%,
So
right
same thing,
there.
the air comes back in and it spins around if you have a bed, and that happens on pickup trucks as well. But with our shape, you get up to that peak and it comes over, it's coming fast, it's gonna go to the low pressure area, which would be the bed.
Yeah.
Unless you have a tonneau cover, and then it just goes straight
Although
to
I
the
did
back.
notice you still got wing mirrors.
We do have
could
mirrors.
have had another percent or two here.
Yeah.
We can, however, our U.S. regulations require mirrors at this point in time.
So there's something that we can have that you can't in
That's
the UK,
right,
which
yeah.
is cameras for wing mirrors, effectively.
That's true.
Yeah.
But we did put the camera screens in for the B pillars.
Yeah.
And if you want to put a tow mirror on or any other optional thing, you can bolt it off pretty quickly.
Okay, cool. Let's stay around the front quickly. So this windshield is enormous. That's got to be the biggest something of something, isn't it?
It is the biggest automotive piece of glass on the market. It's actually pretty big even for like architectural glass, you know.
Yeah.
We had to invest with our supplier in a new line, to make a glass that big. And as with everything, we wanted it to be super tough. So it's made out of borosilicate float glass, super smooth, super tough. And like it won't propagate chips, which is awesome.
No, and it looks flat. When you're dead on, it's effectively one flat surface from the front of the bonnet all the way up to the sort of peak of the triangle, if you like. But actually, from where I'm standing, there is just a little curve left to right on that.
Hint of a curve for manufacturing,
Yeah.
so the glass doesn't collapse on itself.
Yeah.
And for sound, so like if you get a flat piece of glass and you're driving and there's wind on it, it'll go bump, 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 bump like a drum. But when you get that little curve, you kind of put the tension to the outside.
Yeah.
You get rid of that noise.
And this has to be the biggest windscreen wiper ever
It's definitely
made.
the biggest truck wiper, the biggest automotive wiper out there. It's just under 4 feet long. But we went with the single wiper because we wanted to keep it clean. We did talk about deployable wipers and a whole bunch of things, but turned out we actually were able to make that even more aerodynamic.
Even adds to the overall efficiency of the truck just
It's
by
about
having the arm there.
2-3 counts. It rounds out the corner, and this whole shape here provides a little bit better flow on this side than that side. But
Cool. Headlights. So I, for the first 20 minutes when I arrived this morning, I didn't actually notice that they're hidden.
Yeah. This is a big signature lamp. It's DRL. It's one of the brightest on the market. But the headlights are actually hidden down here in the signature area. They're only about 15 millimeters tall, 15, 20 millimeters tall. And all of the light that you would need for driving on the road comes from here, which is actually better because it's lower to the road.
Yeah.
So you get more visual space out in front than you would if it was up here.
Okay, cool. You've also got a lockable frunk,
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
front
Open
trunk,
that up.
fruit,
Frunk.
Front trunk space.
which is actually pretty impressive because if you look at the front overhang, it's absolutely tiny compared to more traditional trucks.
It's very small.
F-150s, which have just they're out here.
They're out
somewhere.
here similar. Yeah.
But that's still a useful space.
Yeah, you
under there.
can fit a carry-on in there or your
Cooler.
grocery bags.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got some room, and you can open it from inside.
Tailgate.
You can sit in it.
Yeah, you can
Do
tailgate.
fit?
Yeah, we both fit. And actually, the height of this was like designed so we could fit and sit, and you can get shade
you-
at the car park.
You do something called tailgating in the
Yeah.
US,
Right.
don't you? We're not really into it, but
This is
you can sort
perfect.
of
front gating.
front gating. It's a whole new sport. It's a whole new sport. It's basically just drinking and grilling meat, right?
That's right.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can
There's
get
some
on board with
sports
that.
involved, but
it's a sport. I'll talk about the wheels because I thought when you did the original
prototype,
concept and the prototypes, they had these sections carved out of the wheels, and I thought, oh yeah, classic design concept style. They're never going to. But these are the production wheels, right?
These are production wheels, and the first thing we looked at was the moment you put something round on this vehicle, it just took it out of its futuristic state. So we knew right away that the caps had to have this angular, faceted feel. And if you stand back and you look at the caps, they're not round. It's kind of a square thing, and we designed the cap to ride the tire, and so the spokes stretch right out to the tread. It just makes the whole thing feel bigger, and it just feels incredibly futuristic. Our job is to take this concept that people now expect as like the future, and actually deliver to them. Give them the future.
Okay, all right. Well, let's keep coming down the side. Door handles or lack of them.
At least in the body side, right?
Yeah. So the original, the 2019 concept, I seem to remember, did have them.
Yes.
And then you've been on a mission ever since to rid the world of car door handles.
Yes.
Those aero inefficient door handles.
The prototype had Model S door handles that
Popped out.
greet you
Yeah.
when you approach the car. But now, because we can use BTLE, we can have the door actually greet you instead of the
The
handle.
door will open up like that when you
Yeah.
come in, and you just grab it and open it. Super cool, but like it's also super functional because if you get frozen or whatever, like door handles are a pain in the head to
Yeah.
open, but the truck actually can break through a half-inch ice.
And we don't have to cut holes in the which is easier to manufacture.
Cutting holes in stainless steel is
Yeah.
annoying, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's hard.
Let's open up the door. I just want a quick
Yeah.
look at the interior. We're not going to dive into the menu and play with all the modes.
Classic, had to make sure that the angular kind of character of the exterior of the truck made its way into the interior, so it felt holistic, although it's very comfortable.
Yeah.
Like the seats look incredibly angular, yet really comfortable, conform to your body. So.
Yeah, cool. Let's look in the back because I think the rear seats do something cool as well. Oh, they're halfway up.
Oh, I'll get it.
All the way up. There we go. So you can chuck a load more stuff. in
Yeah,
as well.
like a truck is all about, it's like a Swiss Army knife. It's all
Yeah.
about, how are you going to use it for what you need? And so it's our job to just make as much space as possible and make it configurable so you can use it. There's pockets, seats flip up. You could put, dog crates or
And we really worked hard to make
big
the door
TVs.
open 92, right?
Yeah.
Because you can have this big space, but if the door only opens to here, you can't use it.
Yeah, you can't put your thing in.
And then it's not quite 6 feet, but it is also pretty decent for sleeping.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah, I've been out on a few test trips where you'll find an engineer or two in the back of a truck just laying down.
Tesla Cybertruck camper van. Although you did actually have a kind of roof tent on those
We do
initial.
have a roof tent.
Is
It's
that going to be?
accessory,
Is that
yeah.
going to be an accessory?
Yes.
I can't wait to see the accessories catalog on this.
It's
thing.
pretty good.
It's going to be pretty good. Let's come around the back. Charging ports here. Yeah.
Dope.
Cleverly integrated there. There it goes.
So this is another round thing, but this is our North American charging standard. It's the
That's
same.
not nearly angular enough.
Hidden behind, in true fashion to what we do at Tesla, we've hidden all our charge ports in the lights. This one wouldn't go in the lights, so hid it away.
So it's
give
gone
it
in
that.
the
It's got a
wheel.
nice seal here to keep it dry when you're off-roading. So right now our V3 superchargers, they only go up 250 kilowatts, but our V4 ones that just started rolling out,
Yeah.
you get 350 kilowatts, so this will take all of it and they'll charge super fast.
350.
Yeah.
Wow. So that will charge in. I know we shouldn't think 0 to 100. We should think 20 to
15
80.
to 80,
Yeah,
yeah.
that kind of thing. But that'll take 10, 15 minutes, I suppose.
Yeah, that's right. It's about 18 to 20 minutes from 15 to 85. And then you lose that speed at the top.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Let's
You
go
got it?
back to truck things.
Truck thing is tonneau covered.
Here we go. So is this
Can stand on it,
Yeah.
but then it opens up to,
So you can stand on that.
yeah.
Is it going to be standard on every truck? Obviously, there's dual motor. There's eventually a
Single motor, yeah.
single motor rear drive one. So I imagine will it be an option?
Yeah,
on
right
those?
now it's standard. As you said, it's super efficient on aero, and so if we need it to get to the price point that makes sense, we'll do it. But it's super useful part of the truck, so it's something we want to keep.
Let's hit some buttons.
Yeah, so the tailgate comes down. It's got a torsion spring, so you can push on it. We've got what we like to call our smuggler's bay. It's under bed storage.
There we go. That's where you put the contraband.
Yeah, that's
Exactly.
right.
Yeah.
But extra space that we had, so we give it back. It's a 6-foot bed, so it's slightly longer than your 5.5-foot bed that you find on a traditional ICE pickup truck.
Yeah.
It's wider than 4 feet across. You'll notice there's no like big blisters or humps for the wheel arches, so it's super smooth and clean in here. Can fit 4x8 sheets of plywood, which is a thing here in the US. Gotta have that.
I love you're getting this. He's from the UK.
Slightly
He doesn't
over
know what I'm
2 years.
talking about. But what about, is there electrical outlets?
Yep.
So I can, do my welding.
Yes.
Do my
That's right.
barbecuing.
You can
You can
weld.
barbecue, you can weld. There's a 220 and two 110s.
Yeah.
So we get 20 amps and 30 amps. So you can actually weld with this enough power.
Yeah.
The power conversion system is our first bi-directional system.
Yeah.
So you can get power out, you can put power in, and eventually with our new chargers at home chargers, you'll be able to go vehicle to home.
Power your house. This is a very functional bed. We put in an L-track system, so
Yeah.
this is like almost infinitely configurable to all sorts of accessories. We have tie downs everywhere.
all the tie downs.
And so this is an incredibly functional bed for anybody that's doing hauling stuff, gear, camping. You mentioned the tent. We have a whole accessories for camping and sleeping in here and making the bed.
Fantastic. I think I know the answer to this one, but would this have been possible with any other boss other than Elon?
Oh, hell no.
No. And give us a flavour of what it's like to have Elon Musk as a boss. How does he operate? How often is he in here demanding sub 10 microns and demanding perfection? Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's wonderful to have a boss, especially at the CEO level, that understands physics and engineering, because I don't have to like dumb it down or water it down. We just talk like engineers about this is why I can't do this. These are the limitations, and I've said it before, but like we go to the limits of physics and chemistry, and that's it. Anything above that is not allowed. Anything below that is not what Tesla does.
I realised you didn't mention cost there. Like, it seems Teslas should be affordable and for everyone, right? But you're not really taking into account cost at the expense of the overall dream, right?
Yeah, I mean, cost is in every element of what we do, and I think it comes here a lot of times in integration and deletion. So some of the stuff we're talking up front on the aero fits, where you're not adding bits on, every bit you add on, that's $1, $2, $3. And so I really, on my team, and especially with you guys, we try to break Conway's Law all the time. So you can't tell who designed what and where one part ends. And when you get that integration, you delete those parts, you just end up with less costly vehicles.
Elon
and
always
more
says
affordable.
the best part is no part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we really adhere to that philosophy, and we try to just take out the parts. Or, you mentioned that's a giant windscreen, but we could have made multiple parts, but then it's multiple parts.
Yeah.
And I will do a couple more videos once we're able to see the inside of the truck at the local Tesla shop. I have a few ideas floating around for how I might be able to build my travel rig, because I really do want to live in this thing. More to come. Thanks for watching.